Hello, everybody. This is Bryan Lewis with the Inscriber magazine, and I'm here talking about my latest article, the top 25 and the real contenders and pretenders. Now, keep in mind, this is both solely based on opinion and based on observation of what I've seen in college football. Now, I've been home basically the entire season on Saturday afternoons for the most part, so I've seen most of these games. I've seen the highlights. I've seen the commentary. My opinion, the teams that are locks as contenders right now, Alabama, and the winner of Ohio State, Michigan. I'm going to get Michigan out of the way first because we already know about Ohio State and Alabama. Michigan, in my opinion, that win against Wisconsin was the statement win that I've been waiting for them to have since the Lloyd Carr era. That is the biggest win that team has had mid-season to this point in about 7 or 8 years. So congratulations, Michigan fans. You guys did awesome. I don't care if you guys won it at home. That was a great Wisconsin defense that you guys basically scored on. LSU couldn't even kick their ass. And LSU should have trampled them. Okay, so I don't want to hear it. Michigan, congrats. You guys are probably going to be 11-0 heading into Columbus, and I hope the Buckeyes are the same way. And we're going to have the game back to the way it used to be. Granted, I'm going to hate your asses, but at least I'll get to hate your asses when you're good. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I can respect that. The number 4 team in the country, the number 3 in the coaches poll, is going to be the Clemson Tigers. Now, in Clemson, I'm just not sold on Deshaun Watson as a pro, so that's beyond me. He can't make a second read. Mike Williams has been spotty. Wayne Gallman has been kind of taken out of the playbook at times. That defense lost a lot of pieces that were very valuable to that team. J-Ron Curse, Kevin Dodd, Shaq Lawson, Mackenzie Alexander was a sophomore redshirt. I hate it when sophomore redshirts leave early, except for Eli Apple. I hated Eli Apple. But, I just don't see them beating. I don't think they would beat Louisville in a neutral ground. I think if that one receiver makes that one extra lunge for that first down, Clemson loses that game, and we're talking about Clemson in a completely different way. And we already talked about Michigan. Washington is the biggest statement win of the week. I was going to write an article, Washington's for real. I'm just going to do this all now. The Washington Huskies are for real, okay? Stanford was the most overrated team in the country, yes. But you know what? When you beat the crap out of a team physically, that's deserving of a win. And by the way, I got to give David Shaw. David Shaw basically showed up to that game. I'm going to get to Stanford in a second, so I'm going to save that. Houston, the Houston Cougars are a very, very good football team. But I think the AAC and their affiliation with the AAC is what's going to prevent them from making the playoff. I think they're going to get Boise Stated, TCU'd. They're going to get shunned out. But they have a very talented football team. They'll get a chance to play Louisville later in the season. And speaking of Louisville, if Louisville can beat Houston and get a loss from Clemson, I think Louisville gets in. Because I don't see North Carolina or Virginia Tech beating them. I really don't. That's the only 2 teams that I can see really left on their schedule, other than Houston, obviously, non-conference game, that can really give them a test one way or the other. And I really don't see it happening. So, Louisville, in my opinion, Lamar Jackson, Heisman Trophy winner. I had Louisville as my preseason ACC title winner, and I had them just missing the playoff at 11-1. I did think that Clemson was going to be their only loss preseason, and I did have Clemson at 10-2. So I do want to mention where those 2 losses could come in, but we'll see as the season goes on. And now an interesting team here, the next 3 teams I'm going to mention, Texas A&M, Miami, and Tennessee, I'm going to lump them all together. A&M is the most explosive offense in the country. They're the best offense in the country right now. Not Cal, not Texas Tech. It's Texas A&M. Because Trevor Knight is a freaking beast. He finally has the chance to prove that maybe Bob Stoops is a freaking idiot. Well, we already know Bob Stoops is an idiot. The next Les Miles, he's got to get canned. A&M's offense, that defense with Amani Watts, that play in the end zone last week. My God. What a play. What a play. And Tennessee and Miami, welcome back to the top 10, guys. It's been about 10 years since we've seen you guys actually competitive. But your quarterbacks have to step up and actually play in big games. I want to see Kaya and Dobbs deserve the praise that they got preseason. And those offenses have to be more consistent. It's sad that Tennessee's defense has really been, Khalil McKenzie getting double-teamed inside, Derek Barnett getting to the quarterback and being a force to be reckoned with, and Cameron Sutton being out for Tennessee. But Cameron Sutton really was their only playmaker in the secondary. So I want to see if Tennessee can continue and see if they actually beat Bama without Cameron Sutton. Although he might be back, so we'll see. I'm going to lump these next 3 teams together, okay? Wisconsin and next 2 teams, Wisconsin and Stanford. I love Wisconsin. I have a lot of respect for Paul Chryst, but Wisconsin doesn't have the horses to beat the teams in the Big Ten East. It's just the way it is. And Stanford, you guys are basically the Wisconsin of the Pac-12. You guys get so close every year. You guys talk about how the way you build it and you have this physical style. But once again, what held you back, just like Brett Bielema held back Wisconsin, David Shaw is holding you back at Stanford. If I'm Stanford and I see David Shaw get offered by an NFL coach or the job at LSU or whatever, I let him go. David Shaw is maxed out as a coach. He's not that good. In my opinion, he's the Mike Tomlin of college football. Great motivator. Just his team showed up unmotivated and unprepared in a road game against Washington, where that game meant everything to those Washington Husky players. And you can't even argue that. The Huskies dominated them. Number 12, 13, 17, and 18. I'm going to lump Nebraska, Baylor, North Carolina, and Florida on one because they're talented football teams, but at the end of the day, they don't have the horses either. They're on a lesser level than Wisconsin and Stanford because Wisconsin and Stanford might actually be able to beat good teams because of the level of play that they've already consistently shown. Wisconsin gave Michigan the hell of a game. Stanford can win games. I just don't think Stanford's going to win if Christian McCaffrey plays mediocre. With Nebraska, Tommy Armstrong's going off right now. That defense, Mike Riley is the perfect coach for Nebraska. Art Briles getting fired at Baylor, that's great, but their offense is still dynamite, and their defense is still non-existent. But it's okay, it's Baylor, we expect that. North Carolina, the last 2 wins, man, I tell you, if they beat Georgia, I would have them in the top 10 right now. That's realistically where we're at with North Carolina. And Florida, if Florida had beat Georgia, it's a different story. I mean, if Florida had beat Tennessee, it's a different story, not Georgia. They haven't played Georgia yet. Florida beating Tennessee, it's a different story. I just don't know who the quarterback is, and it's kind of pathetic that I'm watching Brandon Powell and Antonio Callaway basically get shunned out of that offense. It's kind of pathetic, actually. Jim McElwain, where's the offense? That's all I ask. Where's the freaking offense? And then Arkansas, Boise State, and West Virginia, I love what those teams have been able to do so far this season. I think Arkansas, they got showed up against A&M, but Texas A&M's a team that I thought, okay, if their offense can play to the level they're capable of and their defense can play above average, they're a 10-win football team. And right now, that's exactly what A&M is. A&M right now is the second best team in the SEC. Yeah, I said it. They're the second best team in the SEC. Boise State, I think they're the best non-AQ school because I do consider the AAC as an AQ conference. Sorry. Bryan Harsin's squad has been unbelievable. I love what they've been able to do. And Brett Rippon, just watch them. Just watch those guys play. They're tough bastards. They leave it all on the line, man. And West Virginia, I love Dana Holgorsen. I recommended him for the LSU coaching hire. And yeah, they're slept on, but so far West Virginia hasn't really given anybody any impression that they're a great team. They haven't really hit their stride yet, and they're 4-0. So that's kind of the teams you always keep an eye on. And keep in mind, the Big 12 is a very winnable conference for West Virginia, especially when you consider Skylar Howard and that offense. They're talented enough to go out and win that conference. If they can go out and beat Baylor and Oklahoma State, get out in the early lead. Do what Central Michigan did against Oklahoma State. Get out to an early lead. Make them have to chase you. And I know Mason Rudolph is a very capable player. And then the last 3 teams in the top 25, Colorado at 21. I'll get to Colorado in a second. Utah and Virginia Tech. I love what Utah and Virginia Tech have been able to do this season because they lost senior quarterbacks Michael Brewer and Travis Wilson. Obviously, Tech had Brewer. And if Brewer didn't get hurt 2 years ago in that Ohio State game, I guarantee you Ohio State probably would have lost again last year. So that's really scary to think about. And keep in mind, Utah lost Travis Wilson and Devontae Booker. So they lost a lot of that offense. And overall, I look at Utah as they lost to Cal, but that's a Cal team. That's Davis Webb played really efficient in the late parts of that game. And Virginia Tech has Gerard Evans, so they're going to be just fine. Justin Fuente was a great hire. Those guys are really, really feeding off the energy that Justin Fuente has brought to that program. And Colorado, another program. Welcome back, buddies. Welcome back. It's like the first time since I was like 10 that you guys were ranked in the top 25. But Mike McIntyre has done an excellent job. And that Colorado team is a fun team to watch. They are crazy about football down there. When they're good, they're up there. Washington, too. That's an environment you want to be there for. Go Buffaloes. I know it's legal to smoke weed over there, so light up your blunts. I just think overall, Colorado, it's going to help them recruiting wise. I don't think they're going to be able to really turn it around this year. I don't know if they're a 10-win football team, but they're a team that I can see going 9-3, 8-4, and really, really, really getting a good late December bowl game and possibly a good matchup that could test them and maybe prepare them for next season's momentum, because that's what really it is. They're going to be huge next season. And that's basically it, guys. That's the top 25. I'll talk about some of the other teams later on in the year. As it changes, I'll readjust this as I go. You could follow me at Bryan A. Lewis on Twitter. Follow us at The Inscriber. We got a lot of content. We're